Well, hey everybody, welcome back to Cheap Brew. I'm Anthony, and today we're here to talk about all this stuff on the table and why you, as a brand new home brewer, are gonna need it. Home brewing is a really interesting hobby, and I've been part of it for some time now. Basically, what you're doing is you're taking water, sugar, and yeast and making alcohol in a jar. This is what it looks like. This is a little honey mead project that I've got going on, and I'm currently working on editing a video for it, and I think that's super fun. I love the way that once you make it, you put the yeast in, it bubbles for forever. That's super cool. It's alive. That's one of the cool things about home brewing. It can be a little bit interesting though, getting into it. Now the channel is called Cheap Brew, so the goal is to do things cheap, but also be effective. And I think that these things make it easy to do all that, and I have a hard time imagining doing it without these things. So let's talk about them. All of these things in front of you on the table, you can find them on Amazon, and if you can't find them on Amazon, there's a bunch of different places that you can find them, just probably not Walmart or Target. If you got a Prime membership, you can probably get most of these things tomorrow, but I also want to talk about some other ways that you can get home brewing equipment. Places called homebrew stores. Now, they're usually not very big, it's a mom pop kind of thing, and you can walk in and you can get all of this stuff that you need to start home brewing, and you can physically go in and interact with these people, get recipes, get advice. It's a good place to go if you're just starting out. Just tell them, hey, I'm looking at becoming a home brewer, what do I need? And they'll tell you. My local homebrew store is Olympic Brewing Supply. That's where I went and got all this stuff. And some of the other stuff is from Amazon, but I highly recommend you go check it out at least once. If you're eventually going to get into making beer, that's a good place to go because you can usually buy grains and stuff. It's really an immersive experience. If going to a homebrew store is not your speed, you can also get these on websites other than Amazon. A list is on my little piece of paper here. I'll read it to you. We got northernbrewer.com, morebeer.com. I've used them a couple times. Craft-A-Brew, I had one of their things. They specialize in kits, which is also a good place to start. Great Fermentations, Midwest Supplies, and Right Brew. Let's finally get into what all this equipment does and why you need every single one of these things as a home brewer aficionado. The most important item on the list is sanitizer. Whether you're brewing in some random jar somewhere or this 1 gallon fermenter, you need a sanitizer. This keeps the bad bacteria out. You're gonna sanitize everything that your beer or wine is going to touch. I sanitize these, I sanitize those, I sanitize everything on this table if I'm going to use it. So get yourself some Star San. The only caveat is that Star San itself is not available on Amazon because technically it's a hazardous good, and for whatever reason they can't ship that to me, maybe to you. Check on Amazon to see. The next thing on our list is fermentation jugs. This is a 1 gallon fermentation jug. Note, it is a wide mouth fermentation jug for ease of cleaning. I recommend that you get yourself 2 of these bad boys because there's a certain point in the process where you're gonna need to take this out of here and it's gotta go somewhere. It could be a bowl, but it should be another 1 gallon fermenter. I like to have one filled with the Star San mixture, and I'm sanitizing with all this. I even usually fill up a little spray bottle, completely optional, but it's also only another $2, so why not? But that allows me to keep everything clean. The sanitizer water just sits in here and I can dip things in and out if I need to use a spoon or something like that. I've got a jar for it, and then I've got an empty jar for making my beer and wine, which is a super efficient way to do it, and it has worked very well for me for these 2 batches right here. On top of that, you're going to need at least 1 of these airlocks. Basically, you fill them with water up to this max fill line right here. Keeps the bugs from getting into your wine, and that is super important because that would just make it taste absolutely disgusting, and it would be disgusting to drink it. The other super important piece here, if I had to only have 1 tool outside of these guys, it would be this auto siphon. The auto siphon seems very unexpected. It's a tube with another tube in it, and it's used to siphon liquid out of one fermenter into another fermentation jar using tubing like this that's attached here. You just gotta find the right size of tubing that fits, and then you can siphon anything anywhere. This also can come in a kit with it. This is a bottling wand, and if you're going to bottle whatever it is that you're making, you might want one of those, although you could just pinch the tubing if you really wanted to stay super duper cheap. The auto siphon is much cooler than just a siphon to get from one jug to the next. It is also a really good segue into why we need one of these guys. This is a little beaker that we can use to test the gravity or sugar content / potential alcohol of all of our fancy creations. Basically, you take this, you stick it in your liquid, and then you hold up the jar at the test tube at an angle, and then you pump this liquid to take a gravity reading. So I would highly recommend getting yourself one of these tubes as well, because the next important item is a hydrometer. This is the tool that you're going to use to figure out how much alcohol or potential alcohol your must or wort is going to have. You stick it in the jar, it floats as seen in the clip, and then you read the number and it will tell you exactly what your starting gravity or intermediate gravities are. That's very important for home brewing, and I can't give you a full course on why, but just trust me, you'll want that. The other pieces of equipment sitting over here at this end of the table are for later on in the game. This is a wine corker. If you're making a wine and you want to put it in a bottle that is corkable, you might want one of these. Although you could technically just squeeze it into the bottle. If you're making a beer, this is another good option for you. This is a bottle cap crimper. You stick the beer bottle cap right here, hang it over, push it onto the bottle, snap it in, and that's it. The total cost of all this stuff is about $155. These come in a kit, these come in a kit, these can come in a kit, these are sold separately, and this is sold separately. You can really save some money by bundling these up. You can spend even less if you don't want to get these. These are about $22, $25 a piece. So you can save about 50 bucks if you forego this, or just put this off until you are ready to buy them at the end of your project, which could take a month or so, maybe longer even for something that needs to clear like a wine. So now that you know what to get, you might be wondering, what should I make in it? And I'll have a recommendation for you right here. I recommend that you try something like this. A mead is pretty simple, a maple wine is really simple. It just takes a little bit of time. It's as simple as 1 gallon of water, 3 pounds of honey, a packet of Lalvin D47, and let it go. That could be your first project, and you could be watching the video many months from now when this particular one is done. If that's not satisfactory, I already mentioned it earlier, but you could also go and look up some recipes on the internet, or you could go to the homebrew store, talk to them, and they have plenty of suggestions, much better suggestions than me, who's been doing this as a hobby for a little while. That's all I've got for you today. I hope you enjoyed the video and learned something if you're looking into becoming a home brewer. Make sure you like, subscribe if this is your cup of tea or your cup of wine or beer. If I missed something that you think is super important, drop it in the comments so that I know where I have went wrong. But thanks for watching the video anyways, and remember, spend less money and drink more beer.